Hey, good morning, guys. Yes, happy Friday the 13th. Here we go again, right? All right, it is Storm Talk, although we really don't have much in the way of storms to talk about over the next couple of days, which is a good thing. Maybe a rumble, thunder at best. Most of us will stay indeed just in the showery form as our next system rolls on by. So I'm going to give you an update on this. I do have a little bit of limited time today because we do have some breaking news that's going to be coming into play in about 15 minutes or so from now on our main streaming channel. But I want to at least touch base with you guys about the setup for this weekend. Update you there, kind of fine-tune, button up a couple of the details that are still unclear. And then we'll get into a bit of the longer range. I told you guys I would talk a little bit more about that today, so I definitely want to cover that briefly as we head toward the end. All right, everyone good? As always, you can ask questions or comments. Hopefully I'll see them in time on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitch as well. All right, thanks for joining, guys. So let's get started. We'll begin with a live look outside. This is down in Bardstown, sunny Bardstown. Beautiful down there today. Fall color starting. You can see some of the reds, some of the trees there into the distance. But fall color certainly increased across wave country. And again, the next 10 days, you'll really see it begin to show up more and more. And just unfortunately, after really today, we'll have more of a cloudier sky, although the color really does pop on a cloudy day. It really does. On a sunny day, it's beautiful. But on a cloudy day, the reds and yellows, I mean, they really stand out. So you can still get some good pictures in as we get into this weekend. Next week, that's when we'll get back into a brief warm spell before we try to get another system back in the area toward the end of next week, the way it's looking now. But at the moment, it is nice and clear outside, mainly clear across Indiana and Kentucky. Clouds are increasing. Here is our Friday the 13th storm that is moving in across areas of the Midwest. Has developed a little more of a tail to it today, something that wasn't there yesterday. Still are thinking, though, this is going to be just spotty showers that will move in from the west. Majority of this will happen after midnight tonight, and the front will be passing through probably about 2 to 4 a.m., somewhere around that time period. Could it have a rumble thunder? Yes, but it's still missing quite a few ingredients to allow us to be anything more than that. So the severe risk, if anything, it's been tapered down just a bit, but still in the same spot, roughly in the Midwest, Illinois, Missouri, into portions there of Iowa. All right, so pretty good news there. Amount of rainfall, by the way, of this moving in. I would say Indiana. Indiana, you guys, again, have a chance to get maybe a quarter of an inch. You could get a quarter of an inch. It's possible. Later tonight as the front moves on by. For the rest of us, it's going to be tough because this is what it looks like when the front moves in about 1:30 in the morning. You can see that it's just very blotchy. There's not a lot of organization to it. But there could be one or two pockets in your neighborhood briefly that move over that could give you about a good, tenth to 2/10 of an inch, something like that. That is possible. It's not enough to change the drought status. It's not enough to really help out a tremendous impact, other than easing back maybe a burn ban scenario that if you were getting close to burn ban status, maybe it'll get some of the topsoil and the leaves a little wet there to where they can hold off on that decision. But otherwise, relatively minor on the rain side. But this is important. After it passes by Saturday morning, we end up with that nice little clear slot that aims right into the heart here of wave country. When you wake up on Saturday, bright and sunny outside, temperatures will respond and jump into the 60s. We should, I don't have any change on thinking on this. I think the high for the day will be met late morning, midday. Then the clouds will take over, and then the wind will ramp up. Wind gusts 30 to 35 miles per hour. Models tend to underplay this scenario on wind. So my thinking is it's going to be overplayed and overperformed here on the wind speed. It tends to do this type of scenario. It's going to be a cold wind. So again, while the morning hours will be sunny, a little bit of a breeze won't be terrible, especially if you stay in the sun rays. But the afternoon will be overcast, a little bit of light rain, and a strong northwest wind. Even if it's 58 or 61, it will not feel like that. It'll feel more like the lower 50s at times, that cold wind. So dress for 50s, lower 50s tomorrow afternoon, and you'll be in good shape. The rain's not going to be enough to really mess up anything outside. It's going to be a drizzle type scenarios we're talking about for Saturday afternoon. It'll linger a bit into Saturday night, but then just regenerate again on Sunday. We should have the showers kind of just form right over us with still a gusty wind, even as we went into Sunday. But very spotty in nature with these showers moving through. So not the best of weekends as far as having a blue sky, warm weather, that kind of scenario. But it could be way worse. It could be heavy rain all weekend, or it could be very, very cold so you're not outside. Or I was going to say it could be snowing, but that wouldn't be worse, right? That'd be good. Yeah, that'd be good. So either way, I think this is a decent card we've been dealt with, considering that there could have been other features at play there. So there you go. That looks good for today, Saturday, and on Sunday. And then we will likely carry this for one more day on Monday, one more day after that. And then we'll get rid of it. We'll get rid of this thing after that. Here's the Euro, because later into the week, we will have another low pressure that will be moving on in the neighborhood. And as it moves in across the Midwest, well, it's two different ways this can happen. GFS wants to really, it drops the energy down, but really brings in more of the Gulf moisture with it and develops a nearly closed low right over the Ohio Valley next Thursday and Friday with rain. A decent amount of rain, actually, and a little bit cool weather, and just slowly works its way east. The Euro does the same thing, but it's almost like a plane dropping off a paratrooper or something. It flies over the eastern United States, and then it just drops down a low and just lets it fly out and just deposits the low into the same spot, basically, the GFS has. The GFS has got more of a southern idea of a drop-off happening, and the Euro thinks it's more coming in from Canada. So it's interesting. They both land in the same spot, but how they get there is different. So that means that confidence in this setup is going to be low, because we got to figure out which way it comes from, because that will matter on its organization, how long it lingers, and really the type of rainfall we would see out of this. But certainly a messy setup again. We're kind of stuck in this pattern now where Fridays and Saturdays especially are at risk for a storm system to be through the area, and sometimes Sundays. And I hope this changes so we can get off the weekend train there, but unfortunately that's the way it's looking there for next weekend. We'll worry about the details on that as we fly down the road. Looking ahead, we have another case of a typhoon into, now you're looking at this like, what am I looking at? First off, here is Greenland. This is the United States right here. Louisville, I've got listed if you can read it. And over here would be Alaska. Or Alaska. I think that's how you say it, Alaska. I don't know. I need to go up there. But anyway, you get any type of tropical influence into the Eastern Pacific, or goes western to Eastern Pacific. It can actually cause a recurving typhoon theory. We talked about this actually 2 or 3 weeks ago, where typically about 5 to 7 days later, you can create a cold blast into the Eastern United States. Now, models showed that's a little stronger yesterday than they are today, but I'm seeing hints of it, and you're not going to really see it in full form as far as the typhoon on this map here. What I want to show you, though, this is the 17th of October. This is next week. As I advance this, you'll be able to see that there will be some cool weather into the lower 48. This is nothing extreme at all. This is because of the rain and clouds more than anything. But there is a lot of dark blue that is lining up right through the heart here of the North Pole, mainly because there's a good block right here east of Greenland, and there's a block setting up west of the Aleutian Islands into Alaska. That is a good setup here to allow what we call a cross-polar flow. which means some really cold air for October standards can sink down and head straight south into the eastern United States. And that would be from the help of the block, and some of that they help from the leftovers of the typhoon, which will be interesting to see if this all can play out. But the players are on the field. I just don't know yet if this will be the scenario. When would this happen? Well, that's the interesting part. If this indeed happened, it would be very close to Halloween that we would face it. Now, we'll have to give a buffer of 1 or 2 days, plus or minus, from Halloween. Give a buffer window there, but it could be very close to Halloween that we may see something interesting develop coming in from at least the Arctic side. It's worth mentioning that the tropics, by the way, which I don't have these plotted, the tropics remain active. And there are signs that some type of tropical wave or even a tropical system that's trying to get organized may try to move into the southern United States and get involved in that narrative. And boy, wouldn't that make things a little more exciting. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself. But that's where we stand now on the longer range. I'll go into more detail on this once I get more maps, and we'll see what the typhoon actually does over the weekend. And I'll have more data to show you guys. But that was interesting, still interesting to see that we're getting these dynamic changes that I think will be significant for the upcoming winter forecast, which, by the way, comes out Halloween night. Don't forget. So here's where we stand right now on the 10-day. You see we've got the light rain scenario, cool weather, yada, yada, yada. We pull out of that slowly, but when we do, we jump back into the 70s. I don't see 80s this time, but 70s is fair. And then no matter if it's a paratrooper from the north or from the south, we get a system that's going to be involved in our area of the country next Friday into Saturday. So therefore, rain chances go up, and cool weather into the 60s for now looks to be at play. So this is not a terrible 10-day at all, actually. I mean, bad timing, I'm sure, if you have events, but it's relatively normal for October, which I can deal with normal. Normal's good. So does that make sense? Everyone good on that? What was that? I have to put your comment. I can't read it. Sorry, Anitra. 30 years since it snowed on Halloween. Wouldn't that be fun? Yeah, I do remember that. Of course, the technical date, and remember if that one was October 30th, the day before Halloween. It was 2.4 inches of snow. October 30th, we officially had a half inch or an inch on the ground for Halloween, but it was also because of the cold wind chills. Halloween was technically canceled because it was to the point where it wasn't safe for kids to be out walking around with such cold wind chills. And so, yes, it was the first year I was actually going to give out candy, and then that storm hit. Then it was quiet until a few months later, January 16th and 17th of 1994, of course, the big storm happened. And then there was nothing after that. It was warm for the rest of that winter. So there's only 2 events, really, that stood out, but everyone remembers that, right? But we did have snow last year on the 18th of October. We had a trace of snow last year in mid-October. You may not remember that, but it got quite the stir on that. And then we ended up with about 1.5 inches of snow that we picked up in November last year. And then you guys remember the December snow. And that was about it for winter at that point. All right. So there you go. Any other questions on this? Do you see 80s possible in October and or it looks like November? They're possible. They're a little more unlikely now at this point. The latitude of the angle of the sun here is getting lower and lower. It gets really difficult. This is an unusual year, though. A lot of the waters to our south, the resource regions, are still warm, so I can't say no. But it's a little tougher to get. If we get the weather pattern more active, especially, you don't hold on to that south wind very long to get you to that level, because you end up getting pushed down so far when you get a north wind. So to try to regain those numbers back up, it's quite the journey, uphill journey. So 80 becomes a more difficult, but still 70s. That's not bad. Not bad at all. All right, guys, I'm going to end it there now because, again, we got to get ready for some breaking news I think they're working on. So I'm going to get everything ready for midday. I'll have that ready for you guys on this Friday the 13th. And I hope you guys have a good and safe weekend. I'll see you guys later on. Behave yourselves, and I will see you guys coming up on Monday. And we'll just see what is going on with the long range that time. See what interesting stuff I can sniff out without giving away too much in the winter forecast. I know I was going to try to get it out of me, but I'm going to try to resist.